The rain hit the glass of the willow table like a restless heartbeat, echoing through the empty restaurant. Inside, Ethan Rossi, once a celebrated chef in New York, stirred a pot of golden soup, the scent of cinnamon and roasted squash filling the warm air. He wasn't chasing Michelin stars anymore. He was chasing moments with his 4-year-old daughter, Lily, whose laughter had become the only applause he needed. At the corner table, Lily hummed softly while coloring a crooked purple elephant. Her small voice broke the quiet. "Daddy, I'm hungry." Ethan smiled, wiping his hands on his apron. "What would my little chef like tonight?" "The soup that tastes like hugs," he laughed. "Coming right up, princess." Outside, the storm grew heavier, but inside, life felt safe, simple, almost perfect, until the front door suddenly opened. The sound of the wind filled the room, and a woman in a soaked designer suit stepped in, holding a crying baby in her trembling arms. Ethan looked up, unaware that this ordinary Tuesday night was about to change everything he thought he knew about love, sacrifice, and family. The willow table was quiet that Tuesday night, the kind of silence that only small-town rain could bring. Outside, water streamed down the fogged windows, distorting the streetlights into golden halos. Inside, Ethan Rossi stood over the stove, tasting the creamy butternut squash soup that had become his signature dish. He leaned closer, adjusted the heat, and whispered to himself, "Not too sweet, not too thick, just like Lily likes it." Behind him, Lily Rossi, his 4-year-old daughter, sat at a corner table with her box of crayons scattered across the wooden surface. She was drawing again, her small hands moving quickly, her tongue slightly out in concentration. Tonight, she was creating a purple elephant with wings, because, as she once told him, every elephant deserves to fly. Ethan glanced over and smiled. The sight of her always slowed his heartbeat, grounding him more than any yoga class or meditation app ever could. "Daddy, I'm hungry," she called out without looking up. He turned, his voice soft but teasing. "What would my little chef like tonight?" Lily lifted her drawing, showing him the winged elephant. "The soup that tastes like hugs," she said proudly. Ethan laughed. "Of course, the special order from my best customer." He grabbed a ladle, poured the golden soup into a small ceramic bowl, and sprinkled a hint of cinnamon on top. Steam curled upward, filling the room with warmth and sweetness. As he carried it over to her, Lily clapped her hands in delight. "Smells like happy," she giggled. "Then it's perfect," Ethan said, setting it in front of her. While Lily ate, swinging her legs under the table, Ethan wiped down the counter. The soft hum of the fridge and the rhythmic tapping of rain against glass were the only sounds left in the restaurant. It was peaceful, almost sacred. He glanced at the empty chairs and smiled faintly. Once upon a time, those seats had been filled every night. Couples came for anniversaries. Travelers stopped by after long drives, and food critics scribbled notes while pretending to be discreet. That was before he left New York, before everything changed. He could still remember the night he decided to walk away from it all. The awards, the noise, the endless pressure to impress people who never looked him in the eye. His wife had just left, saying she needed to find herself, leaving behind a 6-month-old baby and a note that smelled faintly of perfume and freedom. Ethan didn't blame her. Maybe she wasn't meant for the kind of love that comes with exhaustion and sleepless nights, but he was. So he packed his knives, took Lily, and moved 3 hours away to this quiet town where nobody cared about Michelin stars. Here, in this humble restaurant with flickering Edison bulbs, he rediscovered what it meant to cook for love instead of applause. He turned to see Lily, now licking the spoon clean, a streak of orange soup across her cheek. She caught his gaze and grinned. "Good?" he asked. "The best," she said with her mouth full. "Can we make this for my Teddy tomorrow?" He chuckled. "Your Teddy doesn't even have a mouth." "He will if we believe hard enough." That answer made Ethan's chest tighten. Every time she said something like that, he saw her mother's fire in her eyes, mixed with his own stubborn hope. The clock ticked softly in the background. 8:47 p.m. Closing time. Ethan turned off the stove, stacked the clean dishes, and exhaled slowly. He loved this hour, when the world outside blurred into rain and he could just be a dad. No critics, no deadlines, just Lily and him. He looked at her again, still humming quietly while tracing clouds around her flying elephant. "You know, Lil," he said, leaning on the counter, "I think you're my best creation." She giggled. "Better than soup?" "Much better," he said. Outside, lightning flickered across the sky, followed by a low rumble of thunder. Ethan glanced toward the front door, noticing how the wind pushed the rain sideways against the glass. The storm was getting stronger. He almost didn't hear the faint chime of the entrance bell. It rang once, then again. Someone was outside. He frowned, wiping his hands on his apron. Who would come in this weather? At this hour? Lily looked up, curious. "Daddy, are we getting a customer?" Ethan hesitated for a moment. "Maybe," he said, walking toward the door. He reached for the handle just as another gust of wind hit the building, and when he opened it, the cold night air rushed in. Standing there was a woman drenched from head to toe, clutching a baby wrapped in a blanket. The baby's cries pierced through the soft jazz playing in the background, and in that instant, Ethan's peaceful little world began to shift. The soft chime of the doorbell sliced through the quiet hum of the restaurant. Ethan looked up from wiping the counter, his brow furrowing. Outside, the rain hammered against the glass like restless fingertips. A sudden gust blew the door open, and the storm spilled in with a rush of cold air and noise. A woman stood in the doorway, drenched from head to toe. Her hair, once neatly tied, clung to her face in tangled strands. She wore a navy blue designer suit that looked more suited for boardrooms than small-town diners, now soaked and clinging to her frame. In one trembling arm, she held a baby wrapped in a thin pink blanket. The child's cries cut through the room with raw desperation. Ethan's first instinct was not curiosity, but empathy. He set down the rag and stepped forward. "Are you still open?" the woman asked, her voice cracking between exhaustion and hope. He glanced at the clock. It was well past closing time, but there was something in her tone, a kind of silent plea that pulled him in. He nodded once. "Please, have a seat." The woman hesitated before stepping inside. The warmth of the willow table wrapped around her, steam from the kitchen softening the edges of the cold night. Her heels clicked weakly on the wooden floor as she approached a table near the kitchen, moving like someone at the end of her strength. Ethan grabbed a towel and offered it to her. "You're soaked. Let me help you dry off." She took it with shaking hands, mumbling, "Thank you." Her fingers brushed his for a second, cold, trembling, fragile. The baby's cries grew louder. She tried rocking her gently, whispering, "Shh, Emma, please. Sweetie, stop crying." But the child only cried harder, her tiny fists waving helplessly. Ethan's heart tightened. He remembered those nights with Lily, the ones where no song, no rocking, no prayer could quiet her cries. He crouched down beside the table. "She's hungry?" he asked softly. "Yes," the woman breathed, frustration breaking through. "But she won't take the bottle. I've tried everything. She's been crying for 3 hours. I'm out of options." Her voice cracked, and for a fleeting moment, the image of the flawless corporate executive crumbled. Beneath the expensive clothes and diamond earrings was a mother unraveling. Ethan studied her closely. The way she avoided eye contact, the way her shoulders trembled, the way she clutched the baby as if afraid she might disappear. "I'm Ethan," he said quietly. "Can I take a look?" The woman hesitated. Then, with a mix of exhaustion and trust, she nodded. "I'm Olivia. Olivia Bennett." The name rang familiar. He had seen it in magazines once, articles about Bennett & Co., the consulting empire she had built from scratch, the powerhouse who turned failing businesses into gold, the kind of woman people admired and feared in equal measure. But right now, she looked nothing like the glossy photos. Her mascara had run, her lipstick was gone, and her confidence had dissolved into exhaustion. Ethan gently lifted the baby, cradling her close. "Hey there, sweetheart," he whispered, his voice shifting into that warm, steady rhythm only parents knew. The baby's cries softened, her tiny eyes blinking curiously at this new presence. Olivia stared in disbelief. "How did you do that?" "Instinct," he said with a small smile. "And a lot of practice?" The baby whimpered again, and Ethan noticed the bottle Olivia had placed on the table. He picked it up, turned it in his hand, and tested a drop on his wrist. His expression changed immediately. "It's too cold. Formula should be warm, close to body temperature." Olivia blinked. The nanny always made it like that. "Maybe that's why she quit," Ethan murmured half-jokingly. He met her eyes. "May I warm it for you?" Olivia hesitated, then nodded, defeated. "Please." As Ethan disappeared into the kitchen, Olivia sat back, her body trembling with relief and exhaustion. She glanced around the quiet restaurant, the amber light flickering against the walls, the faint smell of cinnamon and roasted squash filling the air. It felt nothing like the world she knew. No noise, no deadlines, no phones buzzing, just warmth. For the first time in months, Olivia Bennett, the woman who never cried, felt her eyes sting. And as she watched the kind stranger gently warm her baby's bottle in the soft glow of the kitchen, she realized something she had not admitted to herself until that moment. She wasn't just tired, she was lonely. And tonight, in this tiny restaurant, she might finally find what all her success had failed to give her. The baby's cries filled the small restaurant, echoing off the wooden walls like a desperate symphony. Olivia's hands trembled as she rocked her daughter, whispering words that dissolved into helpless sobs. "She's been crying for hours," she said, her voice barely audible. "The nanny quit this morning. I haven't slept. I don't know what she wants anymore." Ethan stood beside her, watching the scene unfold with quiet understanding. He had seen this exhaustion before he had lived it. He recognized that hollow look in her eyes, the one that came when love collided with pure fatigue. "May I?" he asked gently, gesturing toward the baby. Olivia hesitated. She was used to being in control, giving orders, solving problems. But right now, she felt small, cracked open by her own helplessness. Slowly, she nodded. Ethan leaned down and took the crying baby from her arms with practiced care. The moment his hands touched the child, his entire posture softened. "Oh, hey there, little one," he murmured. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" The baby whimpered but didn't resist. His voice was calm, steady, and low, like the rhythm of a lullaby without words. He swayed gently, keeping his movements slow and predictable, his eyes locked on hers. Olivia watched in disbelief. The baby's wails quieted to soft hiccups. Then, almost impossibly, she fell silent, her tiny fists relaxing against Ethan's chest. For a moment, time stopped. The only sound was the rain outside and the faint hum of the refrigerator. Ethan smiled down at the baby. "That's it. You just needed someone to listen, huh?" he said softly, as if speaking to a friend rather than an infant. Olivia stared. How did you do that?" Ethan glanced at her, his tone light but kind. "Every cry has a reason. Hunger, fear, discomfort. You just have to figure out which language she's speaking." Her lips trembled. "I've tried everything. She pushes the bottle away every time." He looked at the baby, then at the bottle resting on the table. "May I see it?" Olivia nodded again, this time faster, desperate for answers. Ethan took the bottle and tilted it slightly. Watching a few drops slide toward the tip, he touched one to his wrist, then to his lips. His expression shifted immediately. "It's too cold," he said, shaking his head. "Babies need warmth. The milk should be close to body temperature, like a mother's touch." Olivia blinked, confused. Body temperature? The nanny never mentioned that. She always made it this way. Ethan's voice softened. "Every baby is different. Some are sensitive. My daughter was the same when she was little. If the milk wasn't just right, she'd cry for hours." Her face crumpled. "I didn't know. I thought I was doing everything right." He offered a faint smile. "No one does everything right. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to learn." For a moment, Olivia couldn't speak. She just watched him, this man who had somehow turned chaos into calm. She noticed the faint scar near his wrist, the steady rhythm of his breathing, the way his eyes softened each time he looked at her baby. "Let me warm this up properly," he said, moving toward the kitchen. Olivia followed him with her eyes, unable to stop herself. He didn't rush. He filled a small saucepan with water, turned on the stove, and placed the bottle inside with precision. He tested it, waited, tested again. The entire process looked more like an act of care than a chore. "The secret," he called out over his shoulder, "is to get it exactly right, not hotter, not colder." "Do you always take this much care with everything?" she asked quietly. He turned slightly, smiling. "Only when it matters." When he returned, he handed her the bottle. The baby stirred. Sensing the warmth, Olivia brought it close, and for the first time that night, Emma began to drink peacefully, contentedly. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. "I can't believe it! She's finally calm!" Ethan watched them for a moment, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's amazing what a little warmth can do." Olivia looked up, her voice breaking. "No one ever told me that. No one ever taught me." He met her gaze, steady and gentle. "Some lessons you only learn when you stop trying to be perfect and start trying to connect." And in that moment, under the soft kitchen light, surrounded by the scent of soup and rain, something shifted inside Olivia Bennett. For the first time, she didn't feel like a CEO or a failure. She felt like a mother. The kitchen light glowed like a small sunrise against the storm outside. Ethan moved with quiet precision, filling a small saucepan with water, testing the temperature with the back of his wrist. He waited until it was just right, exactly 30,000 degrees Celsius, the warmth of human skin, no microwave, no rushing, just patience and instinct. Olivia sat nearby, her wet hair sticking to her cheeks, watching him as if he were performing a miracle. She could see the focus in his movements, the way his eyes softened when he held the bottle, the way he breathed calmly, as if his entire world depended on getting this one thing perfect. The water rippled gently as the bottle floated, and Ethan whispered, almost to himself, "Patience is the secret ingredient." When he finally lifted it out, he tested it again, nodded in approval, and turned toward Olivia. "Perfect," he said simply. He handed her the bottle, and for a moment, their fingers touched. His hands were warm. Hers were trembling. Olivia took a deep breath and gently placed the nipple near baby Emma's lips. The baby stirred, whimpered, then latched. The cries faded into soft, steady sucking sounds. Her little body relaxed, her tiny fingers unclenched. The silence that followed was almost sacred. Olivia's eyes widened, disbelief flashing across her face. "She's drinking," she whispered, as if afraid to break the spell. Then, louder, her voice cracking, "She's actually drinking." Ethan smiled, that quiet kind of smile that comes from understanding more than words can express. "Sometimes," he said, "all they need is warmth." Olivia blinked back tears, her throat tightening. "How did you know?" He shrugged lightly. "Single parents notice what others overlook." The words hit her like a truth she hadn't known she needed. She looked at him, really looked this time, and saw something more than a man who knew about milk temperatures. There was strength in his gentleness, discipline in his calm, wisdom in his eyes. He crouched beside her, glancing at Emma, now drinking peacefully in her mother's arms. "You see," he continued softly, "babies are like mirrors. They reflect whatever we give them. If we're anxious, they feel it. If we're patient, they settle." Olivia's voice trembled. "I've been anxious for months. Every cry feels like I'm failing her." Ethan's tone was steady but kind. "You're not failing. You're learning. And that's what makes you a good mom." Her lips quivered. "Good mom?" The words sounded foreign coming from her mouth. No one had ever said them to her. Ethan smiled again, faint but sincere. The best ones always doubt themselves. The storm outside raged louder, wind slamming against the glass, but inside, the world had changed. The baby's slow breathing filled the silence, rhythmic and peaceful. Olivia leaned back, her shoulders dropping as if she were exhaling weeks of fear all at once. She watched Ethan return to the kitchen, cleaning the saucepan with the same care he had used to warm the bottle. Every movement was deliberate, graceful, and human. "Why did you leave the city?" she asked suddenly. Ethan paused, his back to her. "Because success made me forget what mattered." He turned around, drying his hands. "Here, I can hear my daughter laugh. I can see her sleep peacefully. I can remember that food isn't just flavor, it's comfort." Olivia looked at Emma again, sleeping soundly now against her chest. The weight of the moment pressed into her heart. She whispered, "I haven't heard my daughter sleep like this since she was born." Ethan nodded, quietly wiping the counter. "That's because tonight, she's finally felt safe." The clock ticked softly, marking the end of chaos and the beginning of something unspoken between them. Two strangers, bound by exhaustion and care, suddenly understood each other in a way words could never capture. Olivia met his gaze, her voice barely above a whisper. "You make it look so easy." Ethan shook his head. "It's never easy. It's just worth it." Their eyes lingered for a moment longer, long enough for the air to shift between them. It wasn't attraction, it was recognition. The kind that comes when two wounded souls realize they've both been fighting the same invisible war. And in that quiet, under the flicker of warm light and the sound of a baby's calm breathing, a connection was born, fragile, unexpected, but real. For a while, silence wrapped the room like a soft blanket. The baby slept soundly in Olivia's arms, her tiny chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. The storm outside had quieted, but something else stirred inside the woman who once commanded boardrooms with her voice alone. She looked up at Ethan, who was rinsing the saucepan at the sink, sleeves rolled to his elbows, his movements unhurried and sure. The simple sight of him, a man who made warmth look effortless, was almost disarming. Olivia spoke before she could stop herself. "I can run $1 billion company," she said, her tone breaking halfway through, "but I can't even feed my own baby." Ethan turned, drying his hands on a towel. His eyes softened. "No baby is difficult," he said. "They just speak a language we haven't learned yet." Her lips parted, the words sinking deep. "A language," she repeated quietly. "Maybe that's the problem. I've been trying to control her instead of listening." Ethan nodded, setting the towel aside. "Babies don't respond to control. They respond to connection." He smiled faintly. "Same with adults. Actually," for the first time, Olivia laughed. It wasn't loud, just a soft, shaky sound that broke through the weight in her chest. "You sound like a therapist." "I'm just a cook," he said simply, "but I've learned that most problems can be fixed with attention and patience." He turned toward the small chalkboard near the counter, where Lily's handwriting listed the specials of the day in crooked letters. The last item read, "The soup that tastes like hugs." Lily appeared then, padding out from the back room in her fuzzy socks, rubbing her sleepy eyes. "Daddy, is the storm gone?" "Almost," Ethan said. "Do you want to help me make your favorite soup?" Her eyes brightened instantly. "The hug soup?" "That's the one." Lily ran to the kitchen, dragging her little stool to the counter. Ethan washed her hands under the tap, then handed her a small wooden spoon. "Chef Lily, ready for duty." Olivia watched, captivated. The two moved in perfect rhythm, like a duet rehearsed for years. Ethan chopped onions while Lily poured broth. She stirred carefully, her tongue poking out in concentration, just as he had done earlier. Every motion carried a quiet tenderness that words couldn't match. "What's in it?" Olivia asked softly, her voice barely rising above the simmering sound of the pot. Ethan smiled without turning. "Butternut squash, cinnamon, a little vanilla." He paused. "And one secret ingredient." Olivia leaned forward slightly. "Which is?" "Intention," he said, glancing back at her. "Food made with care tastes different. You can't fake it." The aroma filled the air, sweet, earthy, comforting. The light from the kitchen wrapped around them, golden and soft, painting the room like an old photograph. Olivia felt something shift in her chest, something unfamiliar, yet deeply human. Watching Ethan and Lily cook, she realized she was witnessing a kind of love she had never experienced, one built not on achievement, but on presence. For years, her life had been measured in quarterly reports and performance graphs. She had learned to chase results, to silence emotion. But here, in this small kitchen, a single father and his little girl were teaching her a different kind of success, the kind that didn't fit into spreadsheets. Lily giggled as Ethan sprinkled salt into the pot. "That's too much," she squealed. He grinned. "A good chef always tastes before she complains." He offered her the spoon. She sipped carefully, her eyes widening. "Perfect," she declared. Olivia couldn't help but smile. It was the first genuine smile she'd felt in months. Ethan caught her expression and tilted his head. "You're welcome to try some when it's done." She nodded, her voice soft. "I'd like that." The clock ticked quietly as the soup simmered, and for the first time in a long time, Olivia Bennett didn't feel like the CEO of anything. She was just a woman sitting in the warm light of a stranger's kitchen, holding her sleeping child, watching two hearts show her what love looked like when it wasn't earned but given freely. And as the scent of cinnamon filled the air, Olivia realized that maybe, just maybe, this was the language she had been trying to learn all along. Ethan placed the bowl before her, steam swirling like a quiet promise. The scent of butternut, cinnamon, and vanilla filled the air, wrapping the room in warmth. Olivia lifted the spoon, hesitated, then tasted. Her breath caught. Tears welled up before she could stop them. "This tastes like love," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan watched her gently, a faint smile touching his lips. "The secret isn't in the recipe," he said softly. "It's in the intention." In that moment, the soup was no longer food. It was forgiveness, comfort, and the bridge between a weary heart and hope. Ethan's voice was calm but piercing. "Why did you choose to be a mom?" he asked. Olivia stared at her sleeping baby, her voice breaking. "I wanted to create something real, something that couldn't be measured in profit or power." Ethan leaned closer. "Then let her teach you. Babies don't need perfection. They need presence." Before Olivia could respond, Lily padded over, clutching her coloring book. "Love is like puzzle pieces," she said softly. "Some families have mommy pieces, some have daddy pieces. If they fit, it's still love." Olivia froze. Then tears spilled down her face. Truth had never sounded so pure. 6 months later, the penthouse kitchen no longer gleamed like a showroom. It felt alive. Olivia now knew how to warm milk to the perfect temperature, how to stir a pot without rushing, how to sing Italian lullabies that once belonged to Ethan's home. Her laughter came easier, her heart beat slower. Ethan often visited, teaching her the quiet art of cooking with emotion instead of precision. They never spoke of love, but it hung between them, gentle and unspoken. In the soft glow of evening, as Emma giggled in her high chair, Olivia realized she had finally learned how to feel. In the soft glow of the penthouse kitchen, a framed note hung above the counter. "Butternut Squash Soup" by Ethan Rossi. Beneath it, Olivia stirred a pot with calm grace, her daughter's laughter echoing nearby. The voice in her mind whispered Ethan's words. "The true recipe isn't written in ink. It's written in patience, care, and love." Her company still thrived, yet the measure of success had changed. It now lived in Emma's smile, in Lily's laughter, in the quiet peace that filled her home. Sometimes, the richest people are not those with fortune, but those who give love freely. A single father's kindness changed a billionaire mother's heart. From chaos to calm, from success to love, this story reminds us what truly matters. If you believe compassion can change lives, like, share, and subscribe to Echo of Kindness for more heart-touching stories that heal the soul.